Now we want numbers. It's about numbers, right? It's not the quality of what you put out. It's the numbers because of advertising. That's how the radio station makes money. So the more ads, that's why the influencers are there, because they can prove they've got numbers, you know. What they do when they're there doesn't matter. It's just a long billboard of advertising. So the more ears you've got listening, the better. And how do you get more listeners? Smart sells. But Itube also was used, and I was telling my daughter the other day, it was used as an experiment for the apartheid government. When they put Dube together, it was for teachers, a slightly more refined black person in it. It was teachers, nurses, and they just wanted to know what a black middle class would look like. And it produced doctors, it produced a whole lot of very important people. But being the SABC, we were 2 floors down in the dungeon. We had no windows. We had a separate toilet. We had a separate canteen. We couldn't, yeah.
Is that why Metro FM used to be downstairs?
Yes. Yeah, it was, we were black most.
In a world where Africans have lost their roots, it has become of vital importance to document our ways. In an effort to reverse the brainwashing of the past, where we were made to believe our ways are demonic, we are pressed to create dignified and respectful platforms to unpack our spiritual ways. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or position of this channel, its hosts, or affiliates. This podcast is a platform for open discussions and exploration of various perspectives, including controversial and unconventional ideas. We encourage viewers to think critically, do their own research, and form their own opinions. The content is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as fact, advice, or an endorsement of any specific viewpoint. Viewers' discretion is advised.
MOYA light, MOYA bright. Welcome to another episode of MOYA Podcast. Guys, thank you for all the support. The numbers are growing substantially. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the adverts till the end. It is definitely showing. Thank you 100 times. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And please put your friends and families onto this podcast because, as I always tell you, this is where you're going to get the education you're not going to get at the white schools. Mm-hmm. So, it's a privilege today. Every time I say that, my guests are always like,
I went,
Kodwa soze mama.
Andazi kaloku i-white schools zifundisa ntoni.
You guys,
or what they don't teach, actually. What they don't teach. Because they have been the authors of our history as opposed to us writing our own stories, and erases us in many ways. So we need to share, we need to talk, and there's no story too small or big, because each one of us has a past, has a future, has an experience. Even if sikhulele elokishini elifanayo kunye, we're not learning the same lessons, or we're not going through the same experience. So, yeah, we need to talk. Look at me going on now.
This platform is for you. I was going to say I wanted to introduce the audience to Mom Shado Twala. We have lived with for decades and decades. And I think what's amazing, man, is that we get taught success looks like a certain way.
Oh.
A certain girl.
Oh.
But then in the long run, the dark-skinned girl with the natural hair is the one still standing. So maybe we should start there. Please, can we... Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy to look, or to want to look a certain part, because you get validation from people. You belong, you know. And to stand out, it means you don't belong anywhere. You're on a lone journey, you know. And it comes with self-doubt as well. You know, you doubt yourself. You think, something wrong with me. Your personality is not important. It's what opens doors for you is the look, you know. And for some reason or other, it's associated with wealth as well, you know. If you don't look the part, you must be poor, you know, already you put down there. So and it's a difficult space to occupy because it affects all of your life, your love life, if you find one, if you have one, just society. You know, you either stand out like a sore thumb, and you need to be ready for the kind of attention or non-attention you get, because you can easily be ignored, or if you are getting attention, it's for the wrong reasons, you know. Because unjani wena, you know, why ngathi awugezanga awuhlambanga, you know. So yeah, there's a lot that sets you apart from the rest, and I think I can speak about it because I think I've been that girl for a long time, for very many years. Even now, and not wanting validation helps, because then when you're sure about who you are, no one can take that away. And in fact, the more people don't know what you represent to yourself, the better, because they can't get to it. You know. So, and it's a lonely journey. It really is. It's a lonely journey. And you have to believe in something, and that's something you're discovering every day. A lot of us stay in one place because we don't want to, we're so fixed in what we believe we are that it's difficult to move on. Sometimes you stay in that space which doesn't serve you. But you need to grow from every experience that you go through. And I can't sit here and tell you what that experience ought to be to grow you. I think the universe does that for you. You know, uyaqhubeka uwe and uvuke kwakhona and dust yourself and move on. That's a lesson. And if you haven't learned it the first time, it keeps revisiting you until it gets into you. So, and not having material wealth almost is a blessing, because your inside is stronger. It's getting tighter. You can not survive, but you live. You live differently, though, very differently, you know, because you have to make do with what you've got. And it doesn't look like anybody else. I mean, you look at other people and think, how come their lives are so pretty and so beautiful? You know. But it's not a struggle, actually, because we're wrong to call it a struggle. It's, again, a lesson that life throws at you, and you've got to find ways around it.
So you've been in broadcasting, I don't know, I'm sure over 40 years, no?
It's 35. Yeah. 35, yeah.
And incidentally, that's because the music industry is not a new, well, it's not an old industry is what I mean to say. I mean, it's old in the sense that it's in our culture, but the actual industry. And I want us to get into that, because you've been slap bang in the middle of it and over the years. And I want to know how you managed, because it's a very fickle and pretentious space. So how did you...
And I'm not sure where your question is going, but I'll tell you this. When you say it's a fickle space, as the years go on, I even find it ridiculous. But the same thing you said about what they teach at white schools. The industry was started to hopefully to preserve our music, but somebody else would dictate what the preservation looks like, what it should sound like, but also who owned the music that came from our people. They would even call Imbube is the thing you talk about. Everyone talks about it because until Paulo Jordan went and fought for the rights for Mbube to come back to South Africa. Because basically in the US it was Wimowe, Wimowe, you know, and they took the whole thing lock, stock, and barrel, and they were making money out of it. So it depended on who owns it. And what, because our music is part of our writing and storytelling. You know, people sang about the status quo, and I suppose that's why some of the music had to have funny or unusual wording to try and tell the story of what we were going through as a people at the time. Oprah Hughes started singing Stimela to talk about the miners and all of those kinds of things. But because you were told what to say, it was because it could go and get airplay on radio. If you didn't say the right things, then it wouldn't get played. And when we started, there were certain pieces of music you couldn't play on the radio, even though the music existed in the library, but they would take an LP and scratch certain tracks off so that you couldn't, the needle would jump off the song. So even then, even when the songs were recorded, they would be restricted as far as airplay is concerned. And our music has evolved in a way that has been influenced by the West as well now, you know, hip-hop, R&B and all of that, because we all wanted, there was a hunger, I think after the cultural boycott, there was a hunger for wanting to be African Americans, which were called Black Americans at the time. So everything we did was mirroring, you know, the African American. We wanted to look like them, we wanted to dress like them, speak like them. So that was a lot of influence, which I think disturbed how we listened or how our music industry would be affected, because all of us now wanted to play, because the music came flooding in after the cultural boycott. So,
what's the cultural boycott?
Cultural boycott was when Americans would boycott South Africa because of apartheid. So there was no cultural exchange. There was no music from the US. It was a ban. They wouldn't perform here, although some of them ran to Sun City to perform at Sun City, because Sun City was the homeland where it was multiracial in an apartheid, you know, situation. So we didn't consume any culture from the US. Music, books, films, nothing could come through. So when it did eventually get lifted after Mandela came out of prison, the floodgates were open. We were playing the latest everything of music, you know. But we could go to Swaziland or Lesotho and hear that music. I mean, that's why Bob Marley came to Zimbabwe and wouldn't come to South Africa. So there was a lot happening around us. And if you were lucky, you could get something from there. So the books we could get from Swaziland, Lesotho, Botswana, Zimbabwe, which was amazing. And also opened us up to music from those countries, but Thomas Mapfumo, you know, in Zimbabwe. I mean, it just opened us up culturally too. And that's why it pains me today when we hating on people from Zimbabwe or outside our countries, because those people homed us when we were homeless, so to speak, And they kept cultures going, also us appreciating being African, so to speak, the real thing. So there was this wonderful exchange, that happened. So our music really was also now opened up to speak the truth. People used music. And they came back from Busi Mhlongo, who was my darling girl. She continued doing beautiful music from Holland, where she was. And it came back. And for us to play that music was just so empowering, and they came home to perform as well and work with then musicians that were also keeping the culture going. Sakile, Kaya Mahlangu, Bosipho Gumede, there were these labels now that were mining this music, which made us proud again and could tell the stories again that couldn't be told at the time. So but still the industry was very in white hands. Obviously you needed money, to record. I'm glad Black Coffee has taken over Galo Records, because there's a huge amount of music sitting there.
But a lot of us got exploited, so he's also inheriting.
Well, he's inheriting it, but he's taking ownership of, he's inheriting that music, which means it's back in our hands. I imagine musicians now can go and learn and redo that music to suit modern times or for the future, but at least it's secured. There's an archive that is protected, I'm not sure if he knows what to do with it. I don't know whether he knows what he's got,
Yeah.
But we're glad that he's got it. It's not in anybody's hands that may exploit it, rather keep it safe. And there were small other record companies that started doing the same thing. There's a record company called Melt 2000. What's his name? Yeah.
Richard.
Not Richard. Yeah, but we'll remember his name.
Robert.
Yeah, Robert.
Yeah.
He did Moses Mulelekwa, Busi Mhlongo, and he's got that archive, and I'm not sure how we can get it to. I think he's letting it be used somehow. I'm not sure. I haven't followed up on that record company, but I know that's another beautiful period where our music was at least preserved with that amount of freedom. But you can do whatever, sing whatever you want, and do whatever you want. So that is there, and I know that the Masekela Foundation also has a lot of music that Brahu did with a whole lot of other people, and that is also still in there. So we've got a nice library of important music, but I know that there's still other music that is sitting in London and what was it, RCA Records at the time? I know even with films and documentaries, they play Jim Comes to Joburg on television almost every December. My father is in that movie, Abu Mam Dorothy Masuka and all of that. And every time I've asked for a copy, they say, no, it doesn't belong to South Africa. It belongs to the BBC or something like that. So we have a lot of work that was done here, taken abroad, and it plays only in SABC, but we don't own it,
And you're not earning royalties.
We're not earning nothing because we don't. Sibolegile, actually. It's like renting a video from the shop, So there's a lot of music like that. And unfortunately, apart from Tate Palo Jordan, who got Mbube back, I don't think the Department of Arts and Culture knows what is sitting out there or knows how to get hold of it or even understands why they should work at getting it back, And as private citizens, I don't also think that we are aware to take up the cause, really, of getting these things back, because it is important to get them back.
You know, I made you skip so many things. I was waiting ahead of myself. How we actually usually start is you tell us where you come from, how you grew
Oh,
up.
wow, that story's been told so many times,
No,
though.
not here. We
I
don't
know, I know.
know.
No, it's just I feel like I'm like a broken record. I keep on
I know.
saying the same thing.
I know, but we're gonna use that at your funeral. Dadlana.
Please use it at my funeral. In fact, you know what? Somebody was saying to me, you better record something that we can play at your funeral. Mamelani, this is what she said. No, no, no. And you know what I don't like is that people say they grew up in the dusty streets of Soweto. I don't come from a dusty street.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, Edube, Soweto. We've got,
Not dusty,
it's
yeah.
not dusty at all. And in Izihlahla, we've got trees.
Nama big house.
Nama big house.
Yeah,
Big house enkulu.
Yes.
No, no, but Itube also was used, and I was telling my daughter the other day, it was used as an experiment for the apartheid government. When they put Dube together, it was for teachers, a slightly more refined black person in it. It was teachers, nurses, and they just wanted to know what a black middle class would look like. And it produced doctors, it produced a whole lot of very important people, and people that made money for themselves. Masithanda siyayiclaima iDube ukuthi Mamuwini, but that was too far. It's not Dube, but we tried to say Soweto at the time, Tate Maponya, you know, that area. Felicia.
Yes.
So Felicia was my ballroom dance teacher. Because we'd go to school and our parents had work, so there's no one at home. So Felicia created this wonderful AYWCA. She'd bring a record player and teach us how to do ballroom as kids.
Sweet.
Yes. And the first thing she'd do when we come in the afternoon, around about 2, and they'd feed us as well, she'd play Young, Gifted and Black for us as kids, you know. That's what we started the dance with, you know. So she was very much there, you know. She was very woke at the time. So Dube is where it came from. And then I went off to school in Swaziland, came back, pregnant. At a very tender age, but I don't regret it. It was beautiful. I mean, I've got a lovely child. I've got a lovely son and a daughter now. Never got married, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I had the freedom to just be. And I'm a bit of a stubborn girl, so I always say to people, if I got married, I would have been killed by somebody by now, because my head sometimes is not right. So, but the other thing was because I loved my dad so much. I think I went about life looking for my father, you know. And just loved the way they were with my parents, you know, they're together. And what became of us in their own humble way, you know, I think they did their best with us. So when I look back now, I'm thinking, maybe that's why I didn't get married, because that guy was just so amazing, you know. I don't think they made another one like him, you know, type
No
thing.
one could meet the standard.
Yeah, and it wasn't even about his looks, but just him as a human being. And my mother was his second wife, so even his first wife was amazing. Mom's second wife, domestic worker, 20 years younger than him. Shembam Tripilu Mamam, you know. But they just were so beautiful. She got it, you know. She was so stylish for a domestic worker, you know. Then she left and went and worked at a factory making jerseys at Doornfontein. And she'd always take me with to her work to kind of show off her daughter, because she was so proud of all of us actually, when we did something nice, she'd go take us to work to her boss. My daughter, they were very proud of us. So, yeah, that's where it all started. Came back, and while I was at school in Swaziland, I've always loved radio, so we'd listen to LM radio from Mozambique. And again, they were playing music that was just not available here. And you heard music, that's where I started hearing Bokalo Santana. I used to like really weird, also maybe white music, a bit of rock here. And, I listened to Bo Uriah Heep, Rare Earth. And that's where I think I met my jazz there, and then the jazz was also influenced, when I came back, influenced by what was going on jazz-wise in the country. Abdullah Ibrahim were popular. I went to, the first jazz festival in Soweto was at Jabulani. It was sponsored by Castle Lager. And Datu Kipi Mweketsi and all of them played there first. There was one in Orlando Stadium, if I'm correct, in 1964, that had like 40,000 people, a jazz festival. So, and my parents would take me to all these places. My parents would take me. So black men were not allowed to gather in large numbers. So Bantu Men's Social Center, which is across the road from Dor-K House. So there was music happening at Dor-K House. I was a little girl. I went to learn how to play a recorder because my dad was at Bantu Men's Social Center, refereeing for football. That's the only way they could gather. And then my ballroom dance helped as well, because then they would run socials as parents. So we did ballroom dancing. I won in 1971, actually. I won the championship.
Oh.
And my name and picture was in the paper, in the world newspaper. So, and this is how they could gather politically, because there's a lot happening then at Dor-K House.
Please explain what Dor-K House is to our children.
Oh, man. Dor-K House was where our culture lived. The birth and celebration of our music, our dance, it was a melting pot of all kinds of cultural practices. Because nezangoma bezikhona at Dor-K House. But as I say, it worked because that's the only way people could talk about politics, talk about issues to themselves. To the outsider, it was ama-artist, bayahlanya, bayarasa, across the road, badlala ibhola. My father is actually called Mr. Orange because during the break yebhola, he'd give players ama-orange just to quench their thirst. So it was that disorganized, but very organized disorganization, So that's what happened then. So that's where the music for me started making sense and blending in. And the football players would come to our house. This big house in Kulencane, you go there today, you don't understand. They used to have beauty competitions for Imoroka Swallows, because that was my father's team. And who played for Moroka Swallows? Ubabaga Dr. Kumalo. When, in fact, the doctor called me the other day. When his parents got married, I was the flower girl, And I did a lot of that. A lot of concerts that were at Jabulani. When Brooke Benton came to South Africa for the first time, I'm the girl that gave him flowers. When Percy Sledge came to the country, I'm the girl that gave him flowers. And when Percy Sledge was young, he said, "Do you take me?" So we said, "Do you kupana?" Because you dig, I am Cooper. So all of it was a very vibrant space at the time, and it was safe to go around.
Where was Dor-K House?
Elof Street Extension.
Oh, okay, so it was like a building.
It's still there. It still has Dor-K House on the outside, but The owners, apparently it was privately owned by some white family. And I'm told that they wouldn't sell it. And I think the government should have bought it, actually, from the family. And I'm told they wouldn't sell, though. It's still there. The building is still very much alive. Usis Quineth Ndaba ran it for a long time, mostly out of her own pocket as well, because she believed in it so much and she was part of the building. I'm not too sure what happened to her or how the building then remained empty. But the history is huge. I mean, when you read, it's written about a lot at Dor-K House, Some record sleeves at the back are still about Dor-K House. So, and it's a pity that we don't have a Dor-K House kind of space now, that where artists can just walk in and share music and speak through music, because that's what music does, When people couldn't write certain words and couldn't sing them, but they could play them. And when you do listen to that music, it does feel very, it touches the raw parts of you. You don't understand how, But it's because the story it's telling, that instrument is telling a very painful past, something that we should remember. So when people don't want to listen to jazz, I'm thinking Velapi, because really, and maybe it's because of the pain that sometimes it brings, And jazz is not only instruments playing. A lot of our music is jazz, because jazz is what do you call it? Jazz is an expression, and it lives in every piece of music. So, is Thandiswa a jazz artist? Maybe, maybe not. But what she's doing is jazz. Jazz is a language that is spoken through any means. People who write poetry are jazz artists, So it lives in everything we do. Jazz is how you cook. Jazz is a lifestyle, where people tell different stories. So, yes, it's put in music, which was a foreign concept from America, And we took what Charlie Parker and tried to emulate them. But jazz is about improvisation in all your life. And these are the lessons I was talking about earlier. Because when hard times or when the universe is trying to teach you something, you need to improvise. You need to find other ways of living, find other ways of doing things. And what saddens us is that we're so trapped in wanting to live a particular lifestyle or in a particular way or be seen to be living it. And that's where we fight with our souls, our own souls, because you're stuck in a falsehood and not letting life happen to you. You want to tell life what to do, and it doesn't work like that. You must, when they say you're flowing, you must flow with it, Be able to hear silent messages that are coming to you. Hear silent messages that come to you.
So then how do you get caught in the broadcasting thing? How old are you then?
Hey, we're not English, ne? They wanted a black radio station that broadcasts in English.
Okay.
To compete with Radio Bop, because Bop had started and they were making money. SABC Nati and Sazgahle, Nati, we can do it. So they recruited, Ukos Khatebe had worked at the SABC anyway, I think for Radio Zulu or one of those radio stations. But he started Metro and collected a whole lot of people. About Treasure, because Treasure had been working for the radio station in the Eastern Cape. What was it called? Capsule Radio. Nabo Oscar Renzi. So there was a black cohort that did a white radio station with black presenters, which were what Treasure. They were the first ones in the Eastern Cape, Capital Radio.
Oh, you mean a white cohort that did black? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they peppered their radio station with black people.
Yes.
And they were...
As they do today.
Yeah. And it was in English, Nayo. So Metro started, and they were ready to go on air, I think, in about a month or a few weeks. And Treasure said to them, hey, I know. So Treasure and my brother were very tight friends. They went to school together. So Treasure said, hey, man, there's this girl who, you're going to love her. She knows her music. Because we'd hang out, and I hung out with a lot of boys, my brother and all of them. So, and we'd play nice music. And so he said, hey, can I bring this girl, man? Introduce you. Ghost came to my home and asked my mother if I could come. My mother said, what's radio? Freelance. My child needs a job, a proper job. In fact, I was working as a PA for a very wonderful man called Mark Lamberti. And he was grooming me to become his marketing guru, And my mother said, man, leave my child alone. What? How? But I was smitten because I really wanted to go, and my mother wouldn't. They begged my mother for weeks. And then I decided, okay, we'll do it weekends. I'll work Monday to Friday as a PA, and then I'll do radio on weekends. I did that for a month. And it was too much. My boss said, because I'd get to the office and everybody would crowd me. Yo, we heard you on the radio. Hey, you are. And my boss said, Yazin, choose this or that. And I chose radio and never looked back. That's how we started in 90s.
So you're the first batch of Metro FM.
First voice even. At 6 o'clock in the morning, we were all there. Treasure, Lawrence Dube, Sheila Dladla was there. She passed on. And for a long time, I was the only girl at Metro for a very long time, I think, about 5-6 years. Tim Mudise was one of the first. Tom Patswe, Mishma Petla. Who else? There was quite a few of us who were there the first day at 6 o'clock in the morning. We woke up to broadcast but being the SABC, we were 2 floors down in the dungeon.
Yes.
We had no windows. We had a separate toilet. We had a separate canteen. We couldn't,
Is that why Metro FM used to be downstairs?
Yes. Yeah, it was, we were black most. So we're downstairs, separate canteen that gave us ipapa and those kinds of foods. Abu Alex J upstairs were eating niceties. Our toilets were different, for many years. For many years, actually. Even after 1994, we could choose now where to go and eat. But we still preferred ours because it was... And Alex J would come, actually, sometimes to our canteen to eat with the blacks, But we were fun, though, and we always kept ourselves as a posse, né? So wherever we went there together, and we just moved into Hillbrow, It was fun in town. So we'd work from one person's apartment to another's. We hung out together. We were very, very tight, I remember one day we were walking late. It wasn't that late, but there's a guy who was beating up a homeless person. My guys said, no, man. When I was there, do you know what you're doing? You're delaying the struggle, man. I'm shy because he was a colored guy beating up a black guy. But no. What was that? As they were beating him up, they were giving him a lecture. You're delaying the struggle. You're delaying democracy. It was beautiful because we were very conscious at the time, conscious of what was going on. I mean, Buti Mhlongo were very teaching good messages, on the radio, especially after 1990 actually. It just became, it became I don't want to say school, but yeah, it was, people were being schooled about certain things that we didn't know about. Then there was a competition run, the best DJ, Miss Twala. It was run nationally. So I won a trip to Manhattan because it was sponsored by Manhattan Lemon Sting. I don't know if you know that. You don't know, you're too young.
No, I do remember
You
that,
do?
actually. I'm quite old, thank you.
So we went, and that gave me another opportunity to visit radio stations there, just to see. And I chased two interviews because Brahu hadn't come back yet. So I chased him for an interview, which I got. And I chased Abdullah for an interview, which I got. So I brought back those two interviews to play. And I was so proud of myself because nobody had heard their voices on radio before. So we were kind of the first to do that. So that was amazing. And then just before we voted in 1994, in February, we were invited to the US. It was Suzette Mafuna, Eddie Mbalo. So they took media from different platforms, newspapers, and they took us to the US. We went on a tour, universities, newspapers, television stations, to talk about the mood in the country just before we vote. That was special, but one of the things I said there, and people wanted to slap me, was I don't think we were ready to vote on the day, because I thought we needed some kind of education about what democracy means, and it will inform the way we vote. We've been waiting all these years for the first time. We want to vote, and we are allowed to. We're almost standing in a queue already, and when it's called about, don't, please just shut up. And I've still got that tape of when I said, can we just talk about this, please? So, and those kinds of discussions were happening, especially on Tim's show, to try and fast forward people, but this is what it means. But I think there was so much beautiful energy, people were excited, couldn't wait to vote for Rutata. It was not even for the organization, for Rutata, So yeah, the mood was beautiful though. I don't regret us voting because that excitement, for the first time in our lives, we felt like we belonged, We felt validated. We felt very present. Our dignity was back, And the music that was playing in those queues, we carried radios to. So on the radio, I had different shows. I had an African music show on Thursday, and reggae on Friday, jazz on Sunday. So I played all those. So reggae also became a kind of protest music for me, Uguti. Bob Marley came to Zimbabwe and didn't come to us, But here we feel him as well, So there was, and that's why I say music speaks to different times of one's life and one's experiences. Again, Bob Marley's music still reminds us so very many times when we listen to it. Redemption Song, it touches so many people in so many ways, and people who look back at their lives find there's a seminal moment where a piece of music existed that is irreplaceable because it speaks to more than the music. It speaks to who you are, who you've become. And it's good to look back because it shows your journey, but you're still in that space. So yeah, and for me, that's what radio meant as well. Radio is everybody's friend. I mean, you remember the ever-ready batteries that would get warmed up in the sun?
Yes.
Because people wanted their radio, come rain or shine, you know.
Yes.
So it's always been there. There used to be a black box. Now you're too young to remember that. A government box. Every home in Soweto or townships there was a government box. It was a umsakazo. That's what it was. That would broadcast only a few hours for their propaganda. Mabefunu teta nati to tell us what's going on. Every house had that, but you couldn't set it up, or you couldn't. It was a box put in your house by force. No one asked you. Every home had to have one black box.
For Master Bas John to speak.
Yeah, Bas John, his master's voice comes at a particular time.
Hey, we've been through a lot of Africans, eh?
And we forget so soon.
That's the thing.
We forget so soon. Because I'm a street committees, which is what I'm still fighting for today. You know, we need those. Because when you know your neighbor and your neighbor's child, and you know, none of this rubbish that's happening now would be happening. Because your streets protect you. It's how we used to live. But ukugijimela next door if anything is happening in your house. But now we don't know who lives next door. We don't. Somebody could die next door for weeks and no one would know if they lived alone. Right? Where's our Ubuntu?
I'm still taken aback by the fact that, first of all, you're the godmother of Metro FM. And they don't capitalize on that. That is wild. Then, second of all, when you say that the original crop of Metro FM DJs was conscious and woke,
yes,
and then you compare them to what we have now.
I think now we want numbers. It's about numbers, right? It's not the quality of what you put out. It's the numbers because of advertising. That's how the radio station makes money. So the more ads, that's why the influencers are there, because they can prove they've got numbers, you know. What they do when they're there doesn't matter. It's just a long billboard of advertising. So the more ears you've got listening, the better. And how do you get more listeners? Smart sells sometimes. Right? So you talk about what's on Twitter, or what's it called now, X. You talk about what's on there, because if you're not talking about that, no one's interested. And people are only interested in swearing at politicians. Ay, laba, you know, mali. That's all they know because they heard somebody else say it. But if you had a conversation about, okay, let's find, because that's what I think ought to happen, let's find solutions for ourselves. Yes, they do that. They rubbish, but senzani. We cannot just hand our power over to people. We need to take responsibility. We need to work hard. So that's what those street committees were doing. We need to take our power back. Senzani, okay, as kwelwa namhlanje, so we're not going to work, no deliveries are coming into the township, but we're cleaning our own streets. We're beautifying our spaces. We're creating gardens, emaseklini.
Yeah.
That's what we did. Our townships are not dirty, even when umasipala ngalandanga in Kunkuma. Because we cleaned. Our kids cleaned. There used to be competitions at garden. You would, I do when I say full. Nathi sinaye yethu. You know, we did that. And our kids used to listen to us. Today you can't tell me squat. So that's why radio is what it is today. And it's not going to get better. Not soon. In fact, it may get worse.
Can it get worse than what it is now?
The worst is that you plug in a phone and just play whatever it is you play. We used to be the first go-to people when new music came out.
Yeah.
Ubrenda Fassie ngangim-interviewer usile lawyer. She used to love chocolates, ne? And uhlale phethe amaswiti and things like that. Nebia. And halfway through, she's just brought out this album, and we're having a conversation, and everyone is listening. Oh, Brenda. Halfway through the interview, she said, Anna man, it says cool, mega cool, we talk too much. Can I go out and just have my beer and my cigarette? She'd leave just like that, go for about 15 minutes, have her beer and cigarette, and comes back. Regardless of what you're doing, we need to continue the interview. But Miriam Makeba's first interview was done by me when she was there. Everybody, Mambusi, you know, there's not a single person, there's not a single person I haven't had a conversation with, especially the females, especially, you know. We were the go-to place for information. I did Shell Goes Trucking as well at some point, and we gave dignity to truckers because Begnati, you're a street sweeper, and not that street sweepers don't have dignity, but people mistreated or looked down on truck drivers, you know. So Shell came in. Shell built truck ports at different Shell stations so that truckers could rest, have something to eat, shower even, and go and deliver whatever it is they do. But what we did then was, and the truck owners would really be angry with us because the show was at 11 o'clock at night until midnight. They could call in. And their families would be listening. And their families would also call in. So it was an exchange of, and the truckers knew each other and they all knew me. And now people who were giving birth would hear it first he's driving and his wife has just delivered. Oh, Nkosi yami, ubani igama lomntwana, sonke sesihlangene manje sikhuluma ukuthi we must give this baby a name from the trucking, you know, trucking community. One day I was working on a Sunday doing my jazz. You know, Sundays, SABC was quiet. And sometimes late, I was partying the last night before. Ngifake gown nama pajama in my car to the studio. You just meet security. Nobody knows. You're downstairs. Nobody cares. They call me to say, yo, there's so many people here. How? It was my birthday the day before. They all quietly arranged to come to the SABC with trucks to bring me a cake. They stopped. I'd never seen them face to face. They all drove those trucks to bring me cake. So eventually what Shell did would be to fly me in a helicopter to the different truck ports. When we do promotions, we stopped them from taking money but getting vouchers because some of them would find prostitutes on the way. So we gave vouchers this time. The companies must give vouchers so that there was a wimpy at everything, at every truck stop. So they'd exchange the voucher for food and at least get a rest and then move on. We were doing God's work. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful time. So people took pride. Baba, Shell Goes Trucking, you know, you know, it really was so beautiful. It is just one of the best things we did as far as those truckers were concerned. It was amazing.
Isn't that what radio is supposed to be doing?
Creating families, creating
Community.
community. Ubabu Agri-Cluster tried with his newspaper, the Sowetan. That's what the Sowetan was going to do, build communities. I think, and you can tell now that that whole school, old school mentality, because we knew where we came from and we wanted to make it better. But they cut the umbilical cord, yeah, too. Because now these new parents arrived from exile. Nina, you know, they cut our umbilical cord and we let them. That's the painful thing, we let them.
Look at the black family right now.
Tell me about it. There is no black family.
There is no black family.
Because now it's about where you live, what car you drive, and nje. So you can't create a black family while you're still worried with the guy you're with, how liquid is he? And because he's not going to get liquid too quickly, he's going to steal money to get the things you want. Right? You've got to. So that's why there's all this shenanigans. Because now, sonke, instant gratification.
Bless us.
Yeah, instant gratification. Nabo babantu badala. Ay, man. Don't get me started. It's painful. It is painful just to watch. And I can't tell you squat. Mina now is clearly kanje. You're going to look at me and say, please, uvelapi. Who the hell are you to tell me anything? We can't have conversations like that. Just conversations. And you know, I stop and I'm surrounded by a lot of young people at where I'm at. And I stop and have, you know, when I say to you, oh my goodness, you look so cute, they get confused.
Yes.
Ufunani?
Yes.
No, you look gorgeous. They can't accept and a compliment.
Nobody gives with pure intention anymore.
Yeah. So they think there's something you want.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you. Not trusting.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the second question. What do you need?
Nobody's kind anymore.
People don't want, they can't accept compliments. And they don't know, they can't recognize generosity, you know. And that for me, especially with young women, I find that so painful because I always think we, as they say, fix each other's crowns.
Yeah.
You know? So when we're trying to fix somebody's crown, they're like, hey, that's...
We're traumatized.
We are. But we give ourselves the trauma.
Yeah. And uzenzi like
Ukhalelwa kanjani? But because we, you know, when you get to a place too quickly, you don't know how to go back because you can't remember the steps you took.
Yeah.
You ran through.
Yeah.
So you can't even go to the second step, which out in Kalepansi, or let me go back, because uyasaba ukuthi ushiye kuvulekile imigodi lapha. So mhlawumbe uzowela futhi. I promise you. I promise you. And by the time we wake up to this thing, I don't know if we can go back.
It already feels like it's too late.
It is. It is. And the world is changing. The whole world is changing. Yeah. And I'm happy that Trump has done what he's done to us. Because now we must fix ourselves. We must connect ourselves to ourselves again. We must start working with other countries around us, other people around us. Africa must fix itself, the whole continent. We must look within. I'm so happy for it because we must just get along. We need to get along with ourselves. We can't be pointing at Bodada Morero and everybody anymore. Fix yourself.
We vote for them. That's another thing.
Why?
So that's why you were saying, Guti, are we ready for this democracy?
Because we don't understand.
Because we don't understand what we're doing.
Explain democracy to anyone. What are we talking about? Do we even know what we're talking about? Umuntu says it's my democratic right. What do you mean? It's written somewhere as your democratic right, but you're not exercising that right. Uhleli ukhomba abanye abantu who you believe owe you something. At my age, I haven't collected SASSA. I was supposed to collect SASSA 6 years ago. I have not collected SASSA because I still walk. I can still do for myself, no matter how little it is that I do for myself. And everyone says, hi, mali yako. Let's go get it. Mali yami. I've been a freelancer all my life. Ankoleka pension. You know, I've never had a 9-to-5. So how do you navigate? I'm not yena yet. I was even saying to somebody, to a cousin of mine, I wish I could get it back pay by niggas as somebody else. How do you redirect it?
Mom, you know, as we start to wrap up, I want to ask, how do you navigate? Because this is one, like you say, when you look around, other people have got these pretty houses, pretty lives, big expensive cars, but you've also worked equally, if not more, than the same people. So when you're stuck in the arts industry, you put in all this work for years and decades and decades and decades, and then you look around, your peers have got much more than you. So how do we navigate those feelings?
Well, I think number one, I wasn't in it for the money. I loved my work, and I still do, even though I don't do it anymore. But I think it's the same thing with record companies. You're asking. Some musicians will make more than others, depending on the kind of deal you sign. So, because one loves their work, you are willing to work for nothing sometimes, for peanuts, let me put it that way. Because all of a sudden, your contract is not renewed if you're asking for more money. So, people are waiting to get your job. So, don't play with us. This is how much you're getting. So, you know, and you need to choose then, do you get up and go? No, I loved what I was doing. So my negotiations were never, I don't know how other people did it. Really, I don't, you know. But I was grateful for a job, grateful to be where I was, because my work meant that I could give you airtime to talk about your work and your music, you know. I wanted
Both
that.
space.
Yes. That's, I wouldn't have let it go because at the time, there were very few people who would do that sort of thing. So for me, it was important to, especially for the cultural workers and activists and all of that, we needed to be the first to say, no.
How do we shift the youth away then from materialism and make the value being on things as opposed to, I mean, when we talk about social capital, the truckers coming to you, that's priceless. Things like that are priceless, and how you impact community is priceless. These are things we're only going to see once again the funeral comes up. But you know, your impact is only known, true success is about the impact you have on community.
Well, that is. I mean, it's beautiful. I walk into spaces now to go and buy groceries, and somebody will say, Ma, do you know, I used to listen to you while I was studying, you know. And that's my currency. That's what gives me joy. That's where my wealth lives. It is priceless. It is priceless. And I'd rather not have that nice house and have this. Because on a daily, I'm mara wena o tsofale wa itse. You know, I get those kinds of things. And I get into an Uber and the guy will say, hi, mara man, I know you were. You know, so, and I think a bit of television helped as well, you know. But that's where I'd rather my currency lives. Because, oh man.
When people see you as family.
Yes. And they remember things. They send me recordings. They remember. There's a guy who was leaving the country and called me. I'd never met him. Called me to say, Ms. Twala, I'm going to leave the country. You know, I used to tape all your shows. So I've got these cassette tapes that he gave me where he used to tape my shows. And he was leaving the country. He said, I can't take them with, but may I give them to you? So I still got those. So it's those little gems, you know, that are heartwarming.
Yeah, because we're actually here to feel.
It's beautiful.
I
love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
Wishing you all the love and success with this. MOYA.
MOYA light, MOYA bright. Another beautiful, beautiful episode with Mama Shado Twala, godmother of Metro FM. I cannot believe the marketing manager of Metro FM is sleeping on this. I cannot believe it. We'll see you guys again next time.
Who are you when all you were has been diluted by lies and white lines cancelling out all that which has been written of your history? Why do you look at yourself as a mystery? Doesn't the sun shine because you open your eyes? Doesn't the moon stay situated within the same stars your DNA sparkles off? Your spirit knows that surely corner into it off. Buza umoya so you may return to being well off. Because spiritually you are rich, yet your ancestors cry because you are out of reach. But yours is to command all elements while God takes inspiration from the very mirror she looked at to become. Remember who you are and never finish just when they think that with you they are done.